Hi everyone, Happy New Year. Sarah with Food Fun Waukesha here. I've been having some fun in the new year, so it's been a little bit since I've talked to you guys and been on here, but busy time. The holidays always are for everybody. Busy time for our family as well. But something that I found right before the holidays and started making for our family and has been a fantastic thing to have are these homemade biscuits. They are probably the easiest biscuits to make, first off. And I kind of one-upped the game today because I made homemade butter. I did not make enough homemade butter to actually put into the biscuits, but it will be spread on the biscuits, and a subsequent one of the things that you get, I guess, when you make homemade butter is you get buttermilk, like homemade buttermilk out of it. So I don't typically have buttermilk in my house unless I know I'm using a lot of it for a recipe. My version of buttermilk is regular milk or heavier milk with, sometimes even heavy cream. That's kind of what we use when I do my classes at Chef Pam's Kitchen, with white wine vinegar or a vinegar in it. Just a little bit, like a teaspoon or so into it. That just helps that whole buttermilk tanginess kind of happen into it. Well, I used my mixer. I had heavy cream in my fridge that I had forgotten about and I needed to do something with. So I made heavy whipping cream into butter. I remembered this all the way back from when I was a Girl Scout. We used to do like the mason jar shake, and you had to shake that mason jar and your arm was just shot. Well, that's obviously a learning thing for Girl Scouts, but thank you modern technology, I let the mixer do all of the work. It still took some time for sure, but I did video like almost the entire process, and I will put the video up later. But you watch it go from a very liquidy, like heavy cream basically is when it comes out of the container, kind of like whole milk, a little bit thicker than whole milk, turn into whipping cream. And then it actually starts to shrink down again and the liquid comes out of it. So it kind of separates again, and you use what I have going here, just a mesh strainer. You could use cheesecloth as well if you didn't have a mesh strainer. And then you have to rinse it. So once the buttermilk and stuff separates out of it, you can definitely tell. It's definitely changed. It's turned this nice yellow creamy color, which is awesome. And then you have to rinse it. So you don't want the buttermilk to stay on it. So I had taken my first batch of buttermilk out. I got about 1.25 cups of buttermilk. This is what I have left of my buttermilk. I probably won't be saving it because that little isn't enough to do anything with. Then I washed my butter. I could have kept that buttermilk as well, but I felt like it would have been really watered down. It wouldn't have really served the purpose of what it was. But then you just let it, sit and drain, because you really don't want that buttermilk to sit on it or be part of the moisture in it. They say you can actually press it with your hands to get that extra liquid out. I've just been having it sit here, and it's a very firm butter. So I'm very happy that I made this. I've tasted. I added a little bit of salt, unsalted butter. It's a great creamy flavor, but it is a little bland. We like salt in our butter for sure. We like salt in this household, so we did that. And I was like, what are we going to have this on? These homemade biscuits that I made. So these biscuits, again, super easy. You should have almost all the ingredients in your house. Flour, baking powder, a little bit of salt, and then buttermilk. And then you're cutting in a stick of butter. So yes, they already have a ton of butter in them, but they are the best when they are fresh. They get a little... I put them in a Ziploc bag overnight, tried to take them with my soup to work the next day, and I would have wanted to toast them up in an oven again. They just get a little spongy, and that's not the texture that I was looking for. But we will definitely be eating these tonight during the Packer game. We just had pizza, very simple dinner tonight. And so we saved some room, and during the Packer game, we can have these lovely biscuits. So again, the hardest part is cutting in the butter. So you're using a pastry blender to cut that butter in. You want the butter to be spread out throughout. You leave the butter in too large of chunks, you're going to have some very dry areas of your biscuit, and then you're going to have some butter that just oozes out onto your pan and makes a mess on your pan. But you get about 12 biscuits, just kind of drop them in there. Fold in the buttermilk until it's basically mixed and don't overmix. And then I just plopped with my hands. I just grabbed the dough, separated it out, plopped with my hands onto the pan. And I'm going to try one right here for you guys now. So they get nice and brown and toasty on the bottom. They just pull apart really nice. And I'm going to have some of my fresh, delicious butter. I also measured all of my ingredients for the biscuit. Woo, a little crumbly. Using a scale this time. So I went down to the grams to make sure that I was doing it right. And they've turned out exactly the same as they've always been when I've made them. So it's not like my measurements are horribly off when I'm just using a cup versus saying a cup is 120 grams. So I got my butter on there. It's getting a little melty. These remind me of either McDonald's biscuits or, it's been a long time, but I'm thinking also a KFC biscuit. But it's been a really long time since I've had a KFC biscuit. Oh yeah, that's delicious. So the biscuits themselves have this nice little crispy, crunchy texture because there is butter throughout them in a little bit more of a chunk form. And so when you bite into it, you get a little crunch first, and then you get the nice warm, like doughy inside of it. So we're going to enjoy this. I'm going to put my butter in something prettier than this, but I will share the end results, like I said, of how I made the butter today. And I've got some great things to share coming up, so I'm super excited. I don't know, I might come live a little bit more, but New Year's resolutions, sometimes I keep them, sometimes I don't. I'm about a 50-50 on that. Probably actually, to be honest, like a 30-70. But one that I really, really, really want to stress for this year is featuring more of Waukesha and showing everything that Waukesha has to offer. And so, if my recipes tie into Waukesha stuff, that's great. Or I'm going to be sharing about some awesome, cool things that are going on and what I'm seeing there. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys all have a very happy New Year, and go Packers.